mentioned it a couple of days ago where it's incredibly weird that we really haven't heard anything official in regards to Call of Duty 2021. Now, that's something you can maybe label as out of the ordinary, weird, whatever you want to call it, if it wasn't for last year kind of rewriting the rules and setting a new precedent for reveals within Call of Duty. Today, I wanted to take a comprehensive look at when and where we could be seeing a reveal for Call of Duty 2021 using logic, reason, and some past patterns we've seen here in the Call of Duty franchise already. That end goal hopefully bringing us to a relatively accurate window of when you can expect to see a reveal, other events, and maybe even some hands-on playable content. So as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. When do you think Call of Duty 2021 is going to be revealed here? And is there anything you'd like to see revealed alongside it? Let me know your thoughts down below, but hopefully enjoy the video. If you do, make sure you drop a like down below. Let's aim for 1,000 likes here on this video. Doing both that and commenting help out the video greatly in the algorithm. But if you guys also are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Call of Duty 2021, Warzone, Modern Warfare, you name it, anything COD related, we got you covered here on the channel. And finally, my friends over at G Fuel ended up bumping up code Espresso to 30% off. So if you guys ever want to try anything out for the first time, get a restock, whatever the case may be, now is as best the time as any. Links in the description below, but let's talk about this proposed Call of Duty 2021 reveal and when it could happen. Firstly, how out of the ordinary is this for Call of Duty? Well, throughout the past decade of COD, most games were all but fully revealed by now, even things like gameplay features and campaign information. But before last year, Modern Warfare's reveal was the most distant into that sort of summer period that we'd had, coming out on May 30th. That was a reveal that at the time was the first reveal to kind of skirt that June line. Everything else in the years before was somewhere in the middle of the end of April and throughout May, with the earliest to my recollection being Black Ops 3's teaser trailer, which dropped on April 9th of 2015. And I honestly still remember being in, I want to say it was my psychology class in college, and trying to hide my phone while watching that teaser as it came out and not get yelled at by my professor. Kind of funny how those things stick with you, but everything else has kind of fallen within that window, minus Black Ops Cold War. Black Ops Cold War was officially confirmed and officially revealed with a teaser trailer that came out on the 19th of August, but that actual teaser trailer setting the anticipation with a feeling for Cold War, utilizing real-world footage taken from interviews with Yuri Bezmenov, a famed Soviet defector. But this teaser was the end game of a week-long marketing campaign, Pawn Takes Pawn, each day revealing new steps, new puzzles, and ultimately that end game again was to give you that teaser trailer confirming the name of Black Ops Cold War and pointing towards a follow-up 1 week later in Verdansk. So up until last year, it would have been incredibly out of the ordinary to not know anything about the game in an official capacity, but that likely was due in part though to Warzone's introduction in March of last year. To have a global launch of a mode that absolutely blew up in March, followed by a reveal event in April or May, that would severely undercut the marketing that they had for that project, and thus didn't happen until later on in the year. And with Warzone's 1 year mark and a new map rework of Verdansk introduced in Season 3, it seems like we're on the same pattern as last year. And even the president of Activision, Rob Kostic, has stated in April we're probably shifting a bit more in that direction when asked about revealing games at later points during the year. So this is absolutely now in line with the current marketing strategy, but that leaves the question to how and when. Now this is where it gets a little bit more speculative in play, but speculation I think that's based on logic and reason, or at least hopefully so. Logically speaking, I think this is going to be another Warzone reveal event, and to me, it wouldn't make much sense to do any other reveal outside of that. Warzone is still that big gun for Call of Duty, bringing in a much larger audience than traditional 6v6 or premium titles have, given it's free to play. You can't beat a barrier of entry that just doesn't exist. That's their main purpose with Warzone, to be that jumping off point, that free experience that if players want more, they can then buy the full premium game. So the active audience is absolutely right there, but also the fact then remains that it costs them literally nothing to do this in-house. If they do it in their own game, they don't have to pay for ad spots during the NBA finals like they have in the past. They don't have to plaster billboards anywhere or buy the rights to get their banner above the convention center in Los Angeles for E3. It's just done in-house in their own game on their own terms. For a company, saving that kind of money is literally everything. So to me, I don't think it makes much sense to go back to that sort of marketing trend. Instead, just do it all in Warzone. So I'd highly anticipate that being the location of this upcoming reveal. And interestingly, it seems that this has already kind of been set into play, as Zesty COD Leaks has mentioned a data mine string of event files as far back as April, in which it mentioned assets very similar to Black Ops Cold War's reveal event. That event in the game files was denoted as X1, while these new files, which mention an ambush and armored train quest lines, remember those scavenger style contracts you had to do with the Know Your History event? Things like that, but denoted X 2, a second reveal event variation in nature, with designated outros for Dawn 4, which is Donetsk, the real-life variation of Verdansk that the world was modeled after, which to my knowledge is also the current map variation that we're on now with Verdansk 84. Dawn 4, the 4th iteration of this map. 1 being the base that we launched with, 2 introducing some changes with the bunkers and goat trails throughout year 1 of support, 3 introduced when we ended up seeing those bunkers closed off, the silos opened up, and Shipwreck introduced in the present day Verdansk, and then Dawn 4, Verdansk 4 is 1984. But as for when, that's where more speculation comes into play, because if we're approaching this, why haven't we heard much more in leaks when it comes to this? Last year we learned a lot of stuff about the reveal well before it was supposed to happen, due simply in part to Warzone leaks. Now, I'd like to think that Raven learned a bit more from Infinity Ward's files last year, and that mistake isn't made again here, but I'm also not expecting much of anything until after Season 5 as a result, because this is likely the next time we'll see a major title update that adjusts the game itself and introduces new assets on the back end, and that is likely when I'd expect to see our first real breakthrough in terms of leaks here for what we can expect to come. But in terms of the actual reveal and timing, that's a different story, because this we can actually utilize based upon simple pattern assessment, really. I guess the word pattern may not be the best term, but you'll see why here. I come back to that in a second. The reveal as of last year happened as follows. On August 10th, we had the marketing go out, a cool little crate that contained an old school projector, film cells, and everything like that, starting the entire Pawn Takes Pawn multi-day Easter egg. Those were sent out to creators in the community. On August 19th, that's when Pawn Takes Pawn finished up its final day here, and then also revealed that teaser for Black Ops Cold War, both not only showing us a little bit of the setting, but also confirming the name. If you go to the Call of Duty channel and look for that specific teaser, it's actually dated as August 21st, but that's because it was edited and re-uploaded, I think, to make it shorter. I don't recall the exact circumstances as to why it was re-uploaded, but it still has the same description that says know your history or be doomed to repeat it for Verdansk August 26th, which then told us to be ready for something in Warzone, which on the 26th, that's when the Know Your History event happened, which we ended up going through a couple of different things, being able to obtain various items through different quest lines, but ultimately revealing Black Ops Cold War at the end of the intended match and slash event, whatever you want to call it. But that was the progression here with it. Over the course of just over 2 weeks, we learned everything we really needed to. But bear in mind that the days of the week on those dates, those reveals both took place on Wednesdays of last year, with the 10th being a Monday. Now, if we apply that logic and reasoning, right now we see Season 5 starting on Tuesday the 10th for Cold War and Warzone. However, I don't know that I'd expect that to hold up. While it is possible, we haven't seen a Tuesday update in over a year since the pandemic started, and since then the updates have been turned into overnight updates to alleviate server stress, but the game hasn't seen Monday or Tuesday updates in a long while, which leads me to believe that that timer on the Battle Pass will see a correction in timing to then point to Season 5 start date around Thursday the 12th. I could be wrong, I could be right, we'll have to see. But that's when I expect game files to potentially start to leak, but also when I think marketing will likely kick off, in my opinion. Let's say it follows exactly 1-to-1 with last year. That means that we'd have the mailers going out for community members around the same time, maybe even as of the 10th again, with a do not open timer set to Season 5's launch. But we could also see then that time frame of the 18th to 25th, give a little bit more time for Season 5's new content to kick off, get players feeling it all, maybe hunt for Easter eggs and clues that are involved with the content the week following, then seeing our first teaser a week later. This is basically a 1-to-1 carbon copy of last year, which would make sense, while also probably taking a few points off in the creative department since, well, it'd be identical. But it makes sense in terms of timing for not only aligning with Season 5, but also the upcoming platforms, because the nice part is, if you remember about last year, was that we basically went right into all of the action. We saw these reveals happen, but then of course we had the announcement of the beta during that, but also a playable alpha for PlayStation users announced shortly thereafter that was actual playable MP, not just 2v2 like Modern Warfare's alpha the year before, but also upcoming events like Gamescom in Cologne, Germany featured Call of Duty as well, and that's something they often don't miss. But here's the thing, I don't personally know if we'll see a 1-to-1 carbon copy of last year for one simple reason. CDL Champs. COD Champs this year is actually about a week to 10 days earlier than what it was last year. The CDL has stated many times that they want to be integrating more and more COD related things outside of just the competitive nature of it. The one that excites me the most is Warzone, so who knows what that leads to, but Champs last year had a little hands-on with Black Ops Cold War, which we knew at the time. During the grand finals match, COD's Pawn Takes Pawn hooded figure, which we later found out to be Bowman's son, which never really got an explanation further, which kind of bothered bothered me still to this day, actually. That was just kind of thrown out there. There's no continuity to it. But his broadcast, air quote, hacked the broadcast of the grand finals match. But this was all, of course, after Cold War was already revealed. So by that logic, given that Champs is set earlier in the year again, like a week to 10 days beforehand, taking place on the 19th to the 22nd, we should see a reveal earlier than that. The key difference that negates this being a 1-to-1 potentially is the grand finals for Champs last year was on the 30th of August. So that means that we had already seen the game revealed for 4 days up until that point. And well, if you take 4 days from before this year's grand finals on the 22nd, what does that give you? The 18th. So personally, I think my educated guess and timeline here is that we start to see things like little teasers with Season 5's launch or shortly thereafter leading up to it, then some sort of reveal event tentatively penciled in for August 18th. We then could potentially see some continued promo throughout COD Champs, whether that be messaging like just basically reiterating the name's title, trailer replays, or continuing marketing like a Bowman type thing from last year. I think we see that happen within CDL Champs, but then also I'd expect a teaser of some campaign or something like that at Gamescom opening night, which falls on August 25th, 1 week later. If you guys remember, part of Gamescom's opening night last year was the Perseus briefing, in which we were introduced to the whole gang, Hudson, Adler, Woods, and a few of the Reagan administration, as well as Ronald Reagan himself. So that's what I would expect here for the reveal time frames, everything that we can expect here. Seems like Season 5 is going to kick off a lot, but then the most curious part afterwards, which we don't quite know yet, there's so many things that I don't think we can nail it down to a definitive date yet, but we definitely will be seeing a beta is my guess. I can almost guarantee that. It's happened since Black Ops 3. I don't see them changing that. And again, like we mentioned, there might even be a playable alpha here this year because we've seen one in Modern Warfare. We saw one last year with Black Ops Cold War, and with little content left remaining to exclusivity, Sony's going to want something here that they can use as leverage to generate sales on their end, and then of course get the most bang for their buck out of that licensing deal that's been signed for quite some time. So I'd expect even that. But honestly, we're now starting to get into the, I don't want to say danger zone, but like the point of time where everything starts to happen and relatively quickly. So I'm excited for it. Honestly, I don't know what to expect really with a World War II game coming back to it. I've said it many a times before. I'd much prefer a modern or near future game here out of this. Black Ops Cold War wasn't half bad. It's still relatively recent past, I guess you could say, even though it was set 40 years ago almost. But a game set 80 years in the past, I don't know how it's going to resonate right now. I feel like World War II's kind of been overdone. But if that's what we got here, I'm definitely curious to see what happens here with it. And of course, I'm all for playing a new game at some point. So that's where we're going to wrap it up. Wanted to fill you guys in here and kind of give you my thoughts on when we can expect to see this kind of stuff happening. Whether or not it's right, I guess time will tell. But for now, that's where I'm at here at this. So let me know your thoughts down below. Do you like this theory of reveals? Maybe not so much. Do you guys have any different thoughts? Let me know down in the comments below. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you're already new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Warzone, Modern Warfare, Cold War, and of course, COD 2020 as we gear up for so much stuff here on the horizon. So if you're interested in any of that, hit the subscribe button. If you also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get came outside of YouTube. Probably live on both those. So if you guys want to check my conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.